Okay, so I guess it's time to start.
Yeah, you can get started. Thanks.
Okay, cool. So good morning, everyone. I'm Hsuan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Portto. And today I'm going to talk about building a full stack decentralized application with Flow Client Library, or FCL, and Blocto Wallet. Okay, so these are the things that I'm going to cover in this sharing in this workshop. So I'm going to share like how you can use Flow Client Library to get information, Flow, connect to wallets, and send transactions. Flow, connect to wallets, and send transactions. Like it manages the identity for you when you have to like sign transactions or log in or something like that. And in your code, in your JavaScript code, you interact with FCL and SDK. So to read or send information onto blockchain. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to show you briefly how it works. So you can see from this picture, so basically the system consists of two parts: the front end part and the blockchain part. So it's here. Okay, so in order to make this work, we have to like start up these two services. Okay, so on the top you can see it's a web app serving on localhost 3000 port. And here we have the Flow emulator. I can start from scratch. Okay, so what you want to do is Flow emulator. So what it does is that it starts a mock blockchain on your local host, and it exposed two endpoints, like one for HTTP on port 8080 and one for gRPC on 3569. So you can interact with, like in your web app, you can interact with this port to like read and write information with this local mock blockchain. So in the code, it's something like this. So it's pretty simple. You just import the FCL, the library, and you you config the access node API to point to your local host 8080, and it should start working. Okay, so like I have some examples here. Like for example, you can what you can do with FCL is that like you can read the latest block. So it shows like since you have just started the emulator, so it's actually the first block. So you see the parent block ID is 00, and the current block ID is here, and you can see the additional information for for your local blockchain. Yeah, and also you can do something like get account. Like you can get the account information of this service account. The service account is used in this emulator to like create other accounts for you. Okay, so you can get the information of this account. And yeah, you can see a lot of information about that. And like in the end, you can see the keys of this account. Okay, so by the way, you can find the code I will share the link with you like in a minute. So you can find the code of how to actually interact with the FCL like in here. So yeah, so it's actually pretty simple. So like when this button is clicked, we execute this part of the code, and typically the core part of your interaction with FCL is something like this. So you send your request through the FCL to the access node, and this creates the body of your request. So like, for example, when you want to get the latest block, you just put this in here. Yeah. And then when the content comes back, set data and show it on screen. So it's what you see here. And it's the same for get account. Yeah. Okay, so here you can set the account you want to look up. And then when you click the button, you request the account information from the FCL. Okay, so what actually happens under the hood is that when you make a request through FCL, it will generate the body required to get information from the access node. And then when access node returns with the information, it will decode the data and serve it back to you. So it's pretty simple. And also you can run script through FCL. So for example, you can do this. It's a very simple script. And what actually happens is that FCL will send this script to the access node, and the access node will evaluate the script and return with the result. And then FCL decodes the result and show it to your JavaScript code. Yeah, so you can see it here. Yeah. So basically what it does is that it passes this script to the access node, and then the access node helps evaluate it and then return with the result. Yeah. So if you look at so if you look at the local emulator screen, you can see that when you send the script through FCL, on your local emulator, you can actually see a message that it has executed the script and then it has returned with the result. Yeah. Okay. So another part of this speech is that I'm going to share about the wallet service and how you can interact with it with FCL. So when you are building a DApp, typically you would want to you would want the user to interact with your DApp. So one way is that you can create an identity and manage the identity for the user in your DApp directly. But then when user uses 2 or 3 different DApps, then the user will have 2 or 3 different identities. And that's really inconvenient because then so it's hard for the user to interoperate within the different DApps. So for example, you have this DApp that you can get an NBA Top Shot token, and when you want, and you can sell it for Flow token. And if you want to use that Flow token and purchase something else on another DApp, you have to send your Flow token to the other account and then do the thing in there. So that's really inconvenient. So usually we will rely on identity service to handle that account, handle the identity for the users. So users can use the same identity across different decentralized applications. So for those who have already developed on Ethereum, you might be familiar with this structure. So typically on Ethereum, an identity service takes the form of like a browser extension or a mobile app. And then, so the identity service, or commonly referred to as wallet, this wallet injects a Web3 object into the context of your DApp. So your DApp can interact with the identity, with the wallet, or with the blockchain by interacting with this Web3 object. But this is kind of inconvenient for the users, because the users will then have to download this browser extension first, or download this mobile app first, before they can start using these DApps. Right, so it causes a lot of friction, and it causes reduces the conversion rate by a lot. So the better structure is that when you use an application, you don't have to download anything else. You just you can do everything like within your web app, or you can do everything within your native app without relying on like an additional service. So what Flow does with what Flow did with FCL is exactly that. So they set up like a pretty strict rule of how wallet providers, or how these identity services should interact with these decentralized applications. So in FCL, it defines like how FCL and identity service should communicate, like how when to use post message, like when to call APIs to for them to exchange information. And that makes life a lot easier for DApp builders like you, or users. So then you only have to load the library, load the JavaScript FCL library, and then point to whichever identity service you wish to use. And then in your DApp, like when user have to like log in, or the user have to interact with the wallet service, FCL then summons the identity service through like iframe, or like a separate tab. And so user won't have to download anything, any additional thing. Oops. Okay. So so you can try it out like this. First, you will need a Flow emulator that we've already started, and you will need your UI, which we have already started too. But you will need this identity service to like manage the user's identity for them. So it works like this. Let me clear the screen. Okay, so in order to start the identity service, the FCL wallet, you will need a private key, which is here. Okay, so you will need the private key from the service account. The FCL wallet will need this key to create new accounts for the user. So it works like. Okay, so now you have your your local DApp, and your local emulator, and your local wallet, and see how it works. So when the DApp requires the user to log in, it's actually pretty simple. It's just one line of code like this. Okay, so you either call FCL authenticate when you want user to log in, or you call FCL unauthenticate if you want to clear all the logged in information and like for the user to log out. So when you log in, work like this. What is happening? Let me try. So I forgot this part. So in order for the wallet to work, you have to provide the FCL with like the URL to summon the login screen for the app. So for your local dev wallet, it is this URL, which you can find when you start up your local FCL wallet here. Okay. So let's try again. Okay. So you can see this iframe is actually the FCL wallet, and you can type in anything you want. And then the FCL wallet will create an identity and account for you. And like when you choose to use this account, the dev wallet, the wallet will then pass the account information through the to FCL. So FCL will handle the identity for you. So you can see the complete information that FCL sees when the user approves of the login. So you can see that some identity information of the user, like its avatar and the color and some of the scoped information that the user can choose to reveal or not, and some information of the wallet provider. So you see that it's the FCL diff wallet, and this is the URL you need when you want to log into this wallet, and authorization information when FCL needs to like send a transaction onto the blockchain. Then FCL needs this information to compose the request to the wallet. Yeah, and you can see the address and the key ID of the account. Okay, so let's try send a transaction. Okay, so when you send a transaction with FCL, it looks something like this. Yeah, so you have to compose the transaction request. So first you have to provide the transaction script, which is here, like a simple transaction, this thing. And then you have to specify which proposer and which payer or which authorizer you want to use for this transaction. So what this does is that, so I'm going to use the currently connected FCL identity for the proposer and the same identity for the payer. So when it composes the request, it will then send this entire request to the wallet provider. And this is what the wallet provider sees. The wallet provider will see like what is the script that you're planning to execute, and what are the roles that I'm going to sign for. So I'm going to sign as a proposer and a payer. So if I approve, then the wallet provider will then sign this transaction. And then FCL will then handle, like, take these entire transaction, including the signatures, and like send it to blockchain through the access node. Yeah, so what happens is that when you're creating a transaction request, the transaction request will be handled by the FCL, and then it will like gather all the information needed and create the signature request to the wallet. Then the wallet will show like a pop-up, and then tell the user like what are the transaction that is being requested to sign and what are the rules. And once the user approves of the transaction, it will then send back the signatures back to FCL. And the FCL will then put all the information, including the transaction body and the signature, onto blockchain through the access node. Yeah, so this is basically what happens. Okay, so assuming you have already tested out your application on the local dev environment, you have tested out on the local emulator, and you have tested out with the local FCL wallet. And now you want to like share it with your friend and ask them to test it out. So you want to deploy your entire application onto a public net. And currently you can use the Flow testnet. So in this scenario, instead of the local emulator, you use the Flow testnet to run, like to host your script, host your contract, and you will require another wallet other than the local dev wallet. And we have built that for you. So you can use our wallet, Blocto wallet, along with the Flow testnet. And this is how it works. So it's actually pretty simple. All you have to do is change the config. So instead of pointing the access node to the local host, you point it to testnet. And instead of using the local FCL wallet to handle the identity, you use the wallet service that we have deployed to Flow testnet. So then we can try again to log in and send transactions. Okay, so like you can see, so this is actually connecting to our staging environment, and I will provide you the link later, and you can actually test it out. So for example, I want to log in to my account. Then it will send a passcode to my email, and then I'll check my email. Okay, then I'm logged in. And so what this does is that once you log into our staging environment, we will create an account for you. So you can use this account to interact like all the dApps or the contracts that are running on Flow testnet. So confirm, and then you can see that it's pretty much the same like how the local FCL wallet works. So it will like give you your name and your account address, and you can see the complete information here. Like you can see the identity, and you can see the information about our wallet provider. So it's Blocto, and the service account address is here. And this is the address you need to log in. And this is the address you need when you want to create a transaction request. And this is the connected address of the user. Yeah. And then we can try send a transaction with it. So the flow is pretty much the same. So FCL will handle the composing of this transaction, and then it will pass the information we need to the wallet service. So right now it's Blocto, and so on Blocto you can see the script, and you can see the transaction fee. So we're also running a node for Flow. So our plan is we will like cover the transaction fee for the users to make life a lot easier for developers and users. Yeah, so once the user approves of the transaction, the signature will then be passed back to FCL, and then it will be broadcasted onto Testnet. And since it's not a local emulator anymore, so it actually takes a little bit more time for the transaction to be sealed. Yeah, so right now you see that, oh, it's sealed right now. So so you can, with a wallet provider, you can like send a transaction, and you can also deploy a contract and interact with contracts when you have a wallet provider connected. Yeah, let's see how it works. Yeah, so basically your it's pretty much the same as like the previous transaction, but instead of like logging something on blockchain, it's deploying code onto your account. Yeah. And let's see how it works. Actually, it will fail. Okay, so you see that so the transaction is sealed, but the status code is 1, which means that it failed. And the reason is that, so right now code deployment requires authorization from the service account. So actually, in order to deploy code onto Testnet, actually right now you have to contact someone from Flow team. So if you actually need it, you can like ping someone in the Flow Discord channel and ask them if they can help you with it. Yep. But once you have your contract deployed onto Testnet, then you can interact with it like the same way you sent this transaction. So I'm not going to show that now. Like you can test it out later. Okay. So a quick review. So when you're handling transactions on the testnet, pretty much it's the exact same flow as the local DevNet. So when you want to send a transaction, FCL helps compose the request and then pass it to the identity service that you chose. And then the user can choose to like approve or reject the transaction. And once the user approves of the transaction, the signature then will come back to FCL. And then FCL will like combine the transaction with the signatures and broadcast it onto Testnet. Okay, So another thing to mention is that, so right now, in the cases that I've shown, you have to specify a wallet by yourself, like by this line of code. But in the future, Flow team will create this service called wallet discovery. So all the wallets that are that supports FCL can be listed, and you don't have to specify a wallet yourself. So when the user logs in, the user can choose from the list of the wallets and choose anyone they want. Yeah. But right now, this is not available yet. And right now, you can just stick with Blocto wallet if you want to test on Flow Testnet. Okay, to wrap up, so in this sharing, I've covered how you can use Flow Client Library in your web application and how you can use it to get information from Flow, and how you can connect to wallets through FCL, and how you can send transactions with it. So here are a list of the resources. So if you're interested about what you can do with FCL, you can just go to this repository and you can pretty much copy paste from here and put it in your project. And you can try it out, try out the demo that I just shown on this here. And you can find more documentations, find more information about FCL and Flow SDK here. And if you have more questions, like building your Flow D app, you can go to the developer channel on Flow Discord. Or if you have Blocto specific questions when you're integrating with our Testnet wallet, you can come to our Discord channel as well. Yeah, that's all for today. Any questions?
Great. There are some questions coming in from the Q&A box, so I will just read them to you and we can just run through them. If you have any questions, just feel free to drop them in the Q&A box and we will review them. So the first question comes from Monique. Does the scripting service throw errors that are identifiable in the FCL SDK, or are we supposed to set the errors in the code we're scripting?
Okay, so actually the errors thrown back from FCL or SDK is, well, some of them is identifiable, but right now it's kind of in the early stage of the development. So yeah, so I'm afraid it doesn't have too much details into the error, the actual error that you're facing. But I'm afraid I'm not suitable to answer this question. Maybe someone from Flow team, because yeah, I'm not sure what's the plan, what are the planned features in the near or far future of FCL and SDK.
Hey, so I'm James. I'm one of the people that actually work on this aspect of it, so I can probably jump in here for this. So yeah, as he said, we're still quite early in this process. We are currently bubbling all the errors up to the send function. So any errors that happen within the resolution of a transaction will be bubbled up to the send function. And we're currently, we actually have issues. All of our issues that we work on are publicly available. And there are issues in there about sort of errors and stuff like that. So if you find an error that you're having troubles with or anything like that, make an issue, we'll see it. Also, reach out to us on Discord. We're more than happy to help. Obviously, if like lots of people are hitting them, we'll prioritize those ones higher as well to make sure things are clear. Our goal in the end is to have them be very clear and well defined of what's going on and what's happening. And that's our first step. And then the second step is mitigation once we have an idea of what's actually going wrong with people. Each module itself will also have, we started doing it for deprecations, but each module will also have an errors.md file eventually, where we, instead of having all the details inside of an error message, we'll be given a link to a section of these errors MD files, which will hopefully give in-depth details of what's actually happening and why you're seeing something. That is our plan.
Great, thanks so much, James. I will jump to the next question, which James, you might be able to help as well with. So how does Blocto wallet differ from Dapper wallet?
Okay. Okay, so actually, I'm not sure like which part I guess you're referring to the Blocto Flow wallet and the Dapper Flow wallet, right? And
that's what they're
yeah, so basically, I think basically it will pretty much work similarly. But for Blocto wallet, because we have a separate app, like mobile application coupled with it. So the plan is that we will provide both custodial and non-custodial mode for the users. So when they start, they will see the custodial mode that like pretty much the same as the experience that I've just demonstrated. So you sign up with email, and then with this email, you can get access to the account that we have created for you. But for advanced users, this might not be like secure enough. So we are planning to couple the identity with our mobile app. So the key will actually be stored in your mobile app, but not on our server. So when you create a like transaction request, that request will be sent from will be sent to our mobile app through push notification. So on your mobile app, you will see like if you want to sign for this request, and if you approve of it, you will use the key stored in your mobile app to sign the transaction and send it to our server, and then it will be passed back to FCL. Yeah, but for the custodial mode, I think it's pretty much the same experience.
And then the next question is, does the user identity information stay with Blocto? If so, how long is user data kept for?
Okay, so yeah, so it stays with Blocto, and it's kept as long as the user like opts out. If they demand us to delete their account and remove their information altogether.
I do want to also add there that our plan with the spec of that profile information was everything in there is technically optional in terms of FCL. So if you're planning to use FCL and you're dealing with these profile information, it should be an accepted thing that this information is completely optional for you to receive it. There's no guarantee that you're going to receive any of these profile information. So our actual plan for that was originally, if an application wanted to receive this certain aspects of a profile, say it was a username or like a display name or an avatar or things like that, they had to specifically state in their scope config that that's what they wanted. And then on the wallet, our hopes were that the wallet would then give the users the choice of like, yeah, I'm comfortable giving this information to the DApp. Since we've started down this journey, we've learned a fair bit about this and the way that we've architected things. So we're actually working towards more of a configuration via services. So we've actually, in the latest version of FCL, deprecated a lot of that profile stuff based on sort of what we now know. So if you're using anything inside of the latest version of FCL, like that profile information, you will get that we're not expecting to stay around in its current form. You will get a deprecation notice. Once again, it goes to an information part, a README on inside of the repo, explaining why and what's going on there. But the eventual goal is you will get that back, just not in its current form. But yeah, it should be in that profile information should always be in the user's control. At least from our side of things.
And then the next question is, do you provide any naming service for your identification?
Yeah. So actually, we have, so actually Blocto is a multi-chain wallet. So we have integrated with Ethereum and Tron, and now we're integrating with Flow. And currently we're using Ethereum name system for the identity. So like all the address information will be stored. Currently, it will be stored on Ethereum name system. Yeah, so, and you will use the same identity, like something like hlee.blocto.xyz, and it is supposed to like work for all the blockchains that are currently supported in Blocto. Yeah, so you can use this address to send Flow to other Flow accounts or send Ether to other Ether accounts.
And we just got a follow-up question for that question. Do you mean the Ethereum name service? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, okay. Ethereum name service.
And then the next question is, when can we expect to have more information about the cost structure of the transactions, if you're able to answer that?
Yeah, I think that might be more appropriate from someone from Flow team.
Yeah. So we're working on that. It will be soon, very, very soon. You will see sort of in the upcoming Flow CLI and emulator releases, you'll start seeing hints of it sort of being introduced. And so things like certain rates and stuff like that will be canaried on the emulator first, and then on the testnet, and then on the mainnet. We're still a ways away, and I believe our current stance on this is like in the name of sort of, so like we built this chain for us so we could build cool things on it. And so for us, that's the most important part. And so we're working with our partners and things like that to sort of, the fees aren't probably something you need to really worry about right now. That the scale we want to do things at on this chain, they're going to be small. Like they're going to be quite small because we need them to be small for what we plan to do. So they're coming. You'll start seeing more and more of it through the development of stuff. But at this point in time, you shouldn't need to worry about it. For the next little while, just think of it as like a grace period where it might not actually cost much at all or anything for at least a little while.
Great.
And one additional thing from our side is that our plan is to like cover the transaction fee for, like, it's already small, but paying like a fraction of a cent is not identical to paying zero. So like our plan is to pay for the transaction fee for the user, so they don't have to worry about getting any Flow token at all. Yeah.
So I believe those are all of our questions for today. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to all attendees. Just a reminder, I'm just going to drop the Twitter handles as well if you want to tweet at us. But yeah, that's it for today. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.